What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Broke Girls Art School. In today's episode, I will be showing a time lapse of this tattoo that I completed. And I will also be going through some of my creative process and drawing process along. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. And as always, make sure to subscribe so you see my future content. Thanks, guys. So first I'll be going over some black and gray shading. So pretty much for the whole shading process, I was using my Bug Pin 9 curved mag. One piece of advice, definitely don't be scared to go in with some solid black. Just adds so much more contrast. So I went inside the inner petals of the chrysanthemum with a really, really dark black and then kind of faded that out into a dark gray wash. And then on the outer side of the petals, I still shaded a little bit, but definitely a much lighter wash, probably like a 3 drip for that. I did the underside of the leaves with solid black. And for the shading, I was running my machine at like a 10.1 voltage. I'm using a Cheyenne pen, by the way, and the cartridges I use are Prime and Flex. And now I'm just going in with my 7-round liner to throw in some white highlights, really make it pop off the skin. And for this next part, I'm going to show the drawing process for her outer forearm. So you can see all my reference photos to the left on my iPad. But I feel like I get a lot more flow out of my drawings when I draw it by hand on paper. So I usually go in with like a red colored pencil to get the first like sloppy sketch down. I'll define it a little bit, but after this I'll be putting a new piece of tracing paper on top and going over it with my microns so I can practice all my line weights. I always recommend doing like thinner lines on the inside of your subject matter. I think it makes it a little bit more delicate and adds a little bit of finesse. But I would always recommend going around the outside of your image with a thicker liner. So here you can see I freehanded a bit of the flowers on and leaves on, and I actually stenciled everything on separately to make sure it fit her arm very nicely. So on the outer edge of the flowers, I used a 9-round liner. And for the inside of the petal details, I used a Bug Pin 3-round liner. Yeah, it's always good to mix up your line weights and have a bit of variety in there. Yeah, so for these flowers, I was pretty much just sticking to a 9, a 5, and a 3. And then I did use an 11-round shader to go around the outside of the rose because I wanted that to be the most prominent in the foreground. And if you guys are going to freehand stuff on, just be careful not to wipe away the marker because it comes off a lot easier than a stencil would. And with lining, I always recommend starting at the bottom and working your way up. It's just really helpful when it comes to not wiping off your stencil. So for the inside of the rose, I was using my 5-round liner. Now we're on the outside of the forearm. Again, starting at the bottom and just working my way up. I really love how those cute little flowers turned out. I wanted to kind of give the elbow some space. I think it's important to let tattoos breathe a little bit in areas that you can. And when tattooing around the elbow, I always recommend having the person bend their arm over the side of the table or the armrest, because when that skin is stretched out so much more, it just makes it that much easier to put the ink in, because the elbow can be a little bit tricky, along with any other really stretchy area on the body. All right, we're just adding some more filler leaves. I was really happy with how I was able to make these two pieces tie together. Now we're just getting the rest of that stencil off. And I always go in after I wipe away the rest of the stencil to touch up a few lines here and there. And here we have the finished product. Just have one more session to go back in and shade the other side with some more black and gray. Here's the already healed inside of her forearm. Thanks for checking it out, guys.